Hi, I'm Nadia and I'm the Yogi.
And I'm Michelle and I'm the Blonde.
And this is the Yogi and the Blonde podcast.
In this podcast, we offer guidance,
Motivation,
education,
and inspiration
to help you adopt healthy habits you can sustain for life.
If you enjoy the podcast and would like further information,
head over to our Instagram or YouTube pages.
You can find the links in the bio.
Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Yogi and the Blonde podcast. Today,
I'm the Yogi. My name is Nadia.
Nadia's the Yogi and I'm Michelle and I am the Blonde. And today's episode is all about the Yogi, Nadia. We're going to learn about Nadia and her journey to get to where you are today, because I had to write this down because Nadia is many things, including a yoga teacher, a personal trainer, a life coach, a health coach, and a breath coach. So Nadia, I would love to know more about how you came to be where you are today with all of these titles on your CV. Talk me through.
So professional.
Where did this all begin? Because I know that this isn't the career that you've always had in life.
No. I was, a little bit of everything. Hospitality as a kid growing up.
Who wasn't?
True. Then finance, admin, like payables, accounts receivable, bookkeeping, that kind of thing. Customer service, admin and corporations and office types of jobs. So I haven't always. So I'm gonna pre-warn you, this can be a bit heavy, but it's my story. So it's why I'm here and why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I struggled with depression. I was like unbelievably hard on myself growing up as a teen into my adulthood. And when I was about 17, I tried to take my life. And with that, I'd take a bunch of like Tylenol and Advil and I just downed it, right? And so when my mom realized this, she's like, I'm taking you to the hospital. And they pumped my stomach. They capped me overnight because they said my kidneys were on overdrive. Nothing was inquired. The doctor just, said I was just looking for attention, just whatever, right? Just fluffed it off to the side. And then I dabbled into drugs, into marijuana, played a lot with ecstasy, just various things just to mask it, right?
To mask the depression.
To mask the feelings, to mask to not work through what I was feeling, because it wasn't nice, and I was hard on myself. I was really, really hard. And I just remember at one place I worked at, they were like, Nadia, you're so hard on yourself. And I didn't see it. I was like on autopilot. I was blind. I couldn't see it. And then I met a Kiwi boy and came to New Zealand. And this is where I learned about my kidney disease, was through my medical certificate. My doctor at the time was like, your protein level's really low in your blood. I'm like, are you vegetarian? No, I eat meat. Oh, okay, that's weird. And she had to do this urine check to see what's in differences in my urine, does this little sample thing, and she's like, oh, I found it. I got to send you to a diagnostic doctor. There's something going on here. Anyways, long story short, found out about my kidney disease. And somebody gave me a book called Eating Alive. Eating Alive. And it's about your digestive system, about how that affects your body. So I started changing my eating habits. I've always been an active person growing up. I played softball, I skied, I snowboarded, hiked, water skied. I was very active. I had a horse, went motorbike, just outdoors and active kid. So it wasn't that I was lazy and I wasn't in shape, because I was always skinny and in shape, because I figure skated actually from a really young age as well. I started skiing when I was like 4 or 5. So active. That's how my dad was, very active. So he wanted his girls to be active as well. So and then when I found that out and read that book and learned about that. That's when I started going to the gym and, did a mini triathlon and was searching. I was searching because I felt torn in so many ways when I went on the internet finding out about this kidney disease. It was like worst case scenario, like
Mm.
death and dialysis and all this kind of stuff.
Dr. Google.
Yeah, Dr. Google. And this was in 2008 when I found out. And now it's 2023. So I've done pretty freaking good to where I'm at right now. And I know there's a lot of people that live with kidney diseases, but they don't take care of themselves. So, yeah, and then it just unfolded from there because when I was living in Blenheim at the time, and I was like, I felt like I needed a change. I wanted to do something different. I was talking to my personal trainer at the time. He was a guy who ran the gym. It was a small gym and he was really lovely. And he said it was a lifestyle. I was actually thinking of personal training, but I was also dabbled a little bit in yoga. I was stiff as a board, stiff as a board. Dabbled in a bit of yoga, talked to the yoga teacher as well. And I talked to them both and I hummed and hawed. And I searched on the internet for yoga teacher training courses. And then I came across the Yoga Auckland Yoga Academy here in Auckland, and it was 11 months long. It wasn't 2 weeks, it wasn't a month, it was 11 months long, and it was great because they were all about if you're going to talk the talk, you should be able to do the walk. So we had to get on the mat 6 days a week. It was intense. There was like 2 blocks of 3 weeks where we had to take time off from work, and we were there 6 days a week, but from 6 in the morning to like 4 or 5 in the afternoon, it was like we had lunch breaks and everything like that, and we were learning all sorts of things, but we had practice time and various things, so it was intense. But this is where I learned it, and this is where I learned about ego. This is where ego, when I was saying hard on myself, I was very hard on myself. I had no drive, I had no goals. I didn't know what goals were. I didn't know anything about myself. I wasn't mind body connected. Yeah, and yoga opened my eyes to all that. It opened to that connection within myself. And yeah, so it's been a great experience in that way, but it's been challenging. um Challenging is that I still notice that depression will come up sometimes, and depending on what I'm going through as well. And from then I went to where did I go? So from then I did the yoga teacher training, then I did a Thai massage course. Oh, you didn't know that
I
one?
didn't
Yeah,
know
yeah, yeah.
this.
Yes, there's a Swedish massage course I did in my early
Oi.
20s.
Okay.
Yeah, I did a
Good
Swedish
to
massage course in
know.
my early 20s, and I didn't pursue it because I had lack of confidence, because I was depressed and had no self-esteem and was so hard on myself. And there's a lot of layers to it why that is, but I've come through that. I'm not going to talk about it because I've let that go. And that is something that's in the past and it's out of control. So I don't want to keep bringing it up, because when you bring it up, then it becomes your story, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I want to focus on how I got through it rather than what brought me there, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we want to talk more about that kind of way. So yeah, I did the drugs, tried to take my life, all that stuff. I've done counseling. I had a counselor fall asleep on me. And I was like, yeah, I've had some really horrid stories. I was just like, and I felt horrible. I was like, oh, she doesn't care about, like you got to think about like, oh, maybe she had a crap sleep or something. But then at the same time, it's like,
hard not to take it personally.
yeah, it's hard not to take that stuff personally at all. So, yeah, so it's just been slowly and trying to find like, I think for myself, like I started my yoga teacher training course in 2011. And and I've been teaching since 2012. And so it's been 11 years now, coming up to 11 years. And so it's like I've been in the industry PTing since 2019, so not very long, but it's just, yeah. So it went from yoga to the Thai massage to health coaching, to PTing, to life coaching, NLP course, and breath coach. Yeah, so that's how all that came in. And I'm just one to, I love to learn, I love to grow, I love to, that's why it's like, I've always got some kind of course or anything like that.
Mm.
But
And when you seek these new things to learn, is that because it's something, a tool that you have used and have found it to be useful, and then you've become so inspired that you've then decided to
yeah,
learn about it in depth and teach it?
yeah, like if you think about it, when we think about like how all this inspired, it's like, okay, I found out about my kidney disease. Somebody gave me a book, and that opened my eyes about food. And then I was thinking about movement and exercise because I had gained weight. I had moved to New Zealand. I had quit smoke. Oh, I was a cigarette smoker as well. So I quit smoking cigarettes, quit smoking weed. I put on like 20 kgs. And that was really weird because I'm like flat chested. So it's just like
You had the boobies.
I had the boobies, I had the cleavage, and I was like, this is great. But then I was not good because I was quite overweight, the triple chin.
The boobies and the rest.
Yeah. Um, but from there, so it was just like one thing after another. And then, like I said, talking to people, going through, like, I did 2 mini triathlons. And yeah, the guy who ran the gym, he helped me, he did programs for me, and trained me for that and stuff, like told me how to train and stuff. And so I did that. And, I wasn't looking at wanting to win anything. It was just accomplishing a goal because I was like, I've never done that before.
Mm.
And that's weird at 30
Mm.
doing that.
But must have done wonders for your self-esteem
It
to realize that it's not ever too late to do something like that.
Yeah, yeah. And to be honest, a yoga and teaching in front of like people anywhere from like where it's like 3 people. I think the biggest class I've taught was 45 people. That's intense. I remember the first time I taught at Les Mills, and I was quite brand new to yoga, and I was quite strict like this, and people were like, "Oh, she's such a hard class," da da da. But I was just like, I was brand new. I was still learning. Now I'm just like, just I cruise in. How does it feel? What's how's the energy? What's my energy like? How's my body feeling? Well, it's gonna be easy today because I hurt myself.
So I've got to give.
Yeah. This is what I gotta give. But it's just learning, like taking each day, really. And I just find each tool is something. The breath course was, I got back from spending a month with my mom and dad last year and seeing my dad and having my final goodbye. And that was heartbreaking. And I was struggling. And I had just done this intense NLP life coaching weekend live. And it was intense. And it was like I had a breakdown. And I went down into depression. I was just like, what is going on with me? Like, what's going on? Because there's been some shifts, some energy moved in my body. So, and that's where I came across the breath. Like, I know breath is powerful tool, and it's pranayama. We use that in yoga, but this was a transformational breath. It was different. And it's like when I did one of his first classes, I was like, it was about an hour or so long, and it was intense. You're doing like up regulating breath, and it's intense, and you've got the option to scream because that's a form of release. And just, I've done a lot of work on myself to be where I am, and each time I come across something, I learn from it. So when I did that class, I came out of there, it was the first time I felt unconditional love for myself.
Wow.
That was empowering. I had a date that afternoon. I was like on such a high, and it never worked out with a guy, but that's okay. I don't care. But
You were fine with yourself.
I was fine with myself.
Yeah.
I was happy with myself. And I think that's really important for like self-esteem and stuff, is to be happy with yourself and to be confident in who you are, because not everybody's going to like you. And I'm aware of that, especially teaching yoga and being a personal, just doing everything. And I tell people, I'm like, if you resonate with me, let's work together. And as long as I resonate with you, but if you don't resonate with me, don't work with me, man. Don't work with me. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
And that shows growth, because
Yes.
that's, if you did have lower self-esteem, you might take that personally
Yeah.
and really dig into why.
Yeah.
Whereas it's actually a very normal thing to have connections with people or not, and that's
Yeah.
fine. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean anything about you personally. It's just is what it is. And so I think
Yeah.
being able to be the way you are and say, yeah, that's it, that's cool.
And we've discussed
That's
about
growth.
this
Yeah.
about someone as well. Remember, we've had that happen
Yeah.
with a client and stuff between the two of us, and it was just it was an interesting experience through that
Mm.
as well. But it's I just keep learning and growing from all that. It's constant. That is life. Life is about growth and evolving.
Mm.
You learn. You learn from, that's interesting. Why is that? Like, okay, let's explore that a little bit more. Let's go into that. And it's not easy. It's not easy. It's bloody hard. Like, I bless one of my exes. He was just such a good person, good heart. He helped me through some therapy. Like, he paid for some therapy, and I went and did therapy for about 11 months every week. And I'd go and see him, and we did neurofeedback was one thing we did, and it was like all having to do with the breath. And so it's interesting from like what I learned then and what he's taught me and how I bring that as well. And I've learned from that, and that's inspired me learning more about other things as well. So because he with this neurofeedback, what happens is he takes a photo, and it's all about energy, right? It's like if you see black, there's no blood flow because everything's done through the frontal vortex. And so he'd take that photo when I'd come in, and then he'd take one before I leave, and then each week, and you'd see the improvement of like, this is when I first walked in, what it looked like. There's lots of black because I wasn't processing things. And then by 2 months later, I was coming in, and there was a lot of orange and red, like a lot of orange meaning there's blood flow. And it was fascinating. And what I got to do was watch a movie. I got to sit there with headphone with this thing on my head with headphones watching a movie. And if it read that I didn't have the blood flow, it was black, the movie would pause, and the movie would pause. And then this on the outside, there's this like bar that would go up and down, and I'd have to calm my breathing. And then once it felt that the blood flow was coming through, and it had to do with my breath and being at peace, and at one, the movie would come back on.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that. That's amazing.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. So yeah, and MDR, like just like patterns, and so I've done a lot of that. That's why that stuff fascinates me as well. So it's I just constantly learning, and you're aware, I struggle. I'm not an academic type of person, but I love learning. I'm more hands-on. I have to like read something out loud to understand it. I've got to see it. So if somebody's just talking in front of me, it's in, out. We were on a course just the other week, and Michelle was picking up. That's how Michelle learned. She was picking up. She was saying the big words. She knew what was going on. But for me, it was like when we get into the practical stuff, there I'm shining on that, and it's quite interesting because that makes us a good partnership as well. You're a lefty, I'm a righty. That's where I'm at. So it started off from my childhood and just evolved, and it's constantly evolving, and that is my life, is evolving. So yeah, I've got a friend. She's like her business is it has evolve in it, and I just talk, whenever I think about evolve, I think about her because she's evolved and is a mentor, someone I look up to quite a lot, and she's full of knowledge, and she's like you, where she just reads something and she remembers it all, and I'm just like in awe with people like that. I was like, ooh, I'd love to get to that one day. one day. But that's pretty much me in a nutshell, in a quick form of not wanting to dive deep in the whys of the past, because that is the past, and I'm in the present and future, and that is what brought me where I am today, and I'm grateful for that. I hold no grudge against whatever was the cause of where I am, so I've just let go.
Love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you for listening,
and allowing
Michelle.
us to all to get to know you a bit better.
Cool. Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward, if anything that I've spoken about, if there's anything that you want to know more detail about it, just hit me up, send me a message. Happy to go more detail. but again, it's something I've been thinking a lot more. I don't want to dwell and talk about the past. Yeah, I went through depression. I was hard on myself, but I know the reason of why it happened and how it happened. But it's more about what I did to resolve it. That's where we need to look at rather than the why and holding the grudge in the past. Let's be in the future. Let's be in the present. I mean, being in the present and letting go of that. Once we can close that trauma and let go of that and be here now and talk about how I got here, the tools that help me. And it's just a very light icing on the cake, really. And it's constant. So it's always going to be growing, and you'll learn that more. But that's me. So I'm Nadia, and I'm the yogi. And you are?
And I'm Michelle, and I'm still blonde.
And thank you for joining us on this and listening to my story. Hopefully that helped you on anything. And you can contact us in any way, which is by our email, which is Yogi and The Blonde at gmail.com, or on Instagram, or comment below down on YouTube, or like and follow us. That'll help us as well on Spotify. So thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Next time is all about you, girl. All about you. Ciao, guys.
If you have enjoyed listening to our podcast today
and want to hear more, please subscribe using the button below.